Hi everyone and welcome back. Let me introduce you to my GT185 from 1975 restoration project. It's been waiting in the wings for some time now, but I'm actually ready to get on with it. I purchased this bike in April 2019 for $400, and at the time I knew it needed some TLC, but it wasn't until I got it home and had a really good look that I realized just how much it needed. There's rust inside the tank, which is never a good thing. The seat was a mess. The overall condition was really poor. It's been set up more like a cafe racer style, but that's not really what I'm looking for. So I'm looking to bring it back to more of closer to original condition, similar to the picture at the beginning of the video. And one of the biggest problems with this bike is the engine. It's an absolute wreck. So I didn't realize that, but check this in this video here, showing the milky, goopy mess in the crankcase. And this is actually gearbox oil. So it's a little bit stiff to get these moving, and I found out why afterwards. But this just demonstrates what a mess it was, and it was at this point that I thought this whole thing needs a total rebuild. So this is the piece that was jamming up that crankcase. That's actually a piece of the piston. So the engine top end was just loose fitted, and there were no pistons. So what I'm guessing is that they jammed in the barrels. You can see there the damage, and it was just wrecked during disassembly. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with fixing this engine. Okay, so here we have the GT185 engine casings, well, the whole engine pretty much, and I've just got these engine casings back from the Vapor Blaster, and man, did they come up good. They look fantastic, so clean. The head and the barrels just look superb. They were filthy, really dirty, but I guess the dirt might have protected the finish, and they come up really shiny. The side covers, not quite so much, but they had a lot of corrosion on it, so the surface was in pretty poor condition. So I may polish that, I may not. Let's see if I can get black paint back on that Suzuki badge. But all in all, I'm almost ready to start putting it back together. That tipping point between pulling it apart, assessing all the bits, cleaning all the crap off it, and buying new stuff. For example, crank bearings. That is so smooth. Seals, gaskets, anything that's damaged. I actually had to replace one of these. It had some pretty nasty pitting on two of the teeth actually. I've got a photo of that. I'll see if I can insert that. It's probably going to be a bit pixelated, but either way, I managed to buy a single gear. I think it was like the 4th gear, not sure about that. Anyway, doesn't matter. These bearings have been replaced. These are all new, so I've prepped all this up, ready to just pop back in. I've had the crank rebuilt, so these are all new bearings. These are new seals, the whole thing. New bearings on the big ends. I've got new pistons and rings, so this thing should go really well. I just can't believe how well they come up. It's so clean. I guess it was so filthy and corroded and just tarnished before. that it's kind of amazing how well it comes up. So I've got some more bits and pieces over here. They come from the top half. Let's see if that bit of light's going to help. That's all the well, that's the kickstart bits, and this is all the gear selecting bits. So I've got some photos of that, how it came apart, but I'm keen to make a start on getting it back in. They actually went in here in the top casing. So yeah, between memory and pictures, I think I'll get all that stuff back in, and I'll bring you back once it's done. A quick update. As you can see, I've made some pretty good progress. You can see a little bit of discoloration there, but I'm going to just let that go, because when that's running it'll clean itself up and I'll just do a bit of a flush with the gearbox oil, and that everything should come up spotless. So lots of fiddling around, aligning things, such as the little centralizing, where is it? There it is. Just tuck that down. These seals, get them in place. This little retainer here stops it moving in and out. Thrust, I guess you could say. Lots of mucking around with this kickstart, but I finally got that sussed out. So I put this little clip here to keep everything together. Crankshaft is in. Out a seal, that has to line up with that little recess there. We got our pins. Each bearing's got a pin to stop it spinning. This one's got the same little retainer there. The only thing that I had a problem with is this retainer here. I cannot find that anywhere. So I can't see this going anywhere, but it's there for a reason. But when I put this together, I might just put 2 or 3 screws. Got the other side just waiting to sit on. Murphy's Law though, as soon as I sit that on, I'll find it. So when I do sit it on, I'm just going to use 1 or 2 screws just to make sure it stays there. Put everything back on the sides. There's lots of bits and pieces that need to go there for the gear selection. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with the progress, considering that it's, well, I've only done this once before, and that was a long time ago. So between labeling things, tagging things, remembering things, taking pictures, I got my trusty parts catalogue here. It gives you everything, where all the parts, and kind of a bit of an idea where things go. We've got this far, so I'll bring you back when I've got some more progress. Okay, progress update. You can see I have it bottom end, well, all but finished, and all this fiddly stuff in here is all back in. Clutch baskets all together. Just sizing up my gaskets here because I want to put this side cover on, and run into a bit of a snag, some poor quality snag. So we've got a locating pin here, we've got another one here. So where do we start lining up? We'll line up that one there, that hole there. That's slightly off, then it gets worse and worse and worse. I mean, you could take a little bit out of there. That one's average. Then look up here. That's just really bad quality. So you move it a bit to line up here. It's just bad there. You move it to line up there. It's average, but this top bit's just, I mean, look at that. That's just rubbish. So I thought I had my nice gasket set here from these guys. The gasket for that one fits much better, but the gasket for this is horrendous. So I'm going to have to see if I can make myself a gasket. I've got some gasket paper, and we'll get that side cover on, but I'm really pleased. That's looking really, really good. So many bits and pieces to go into that bottom end. There's still a lot to put on, but you know, there's so many little pieces that just go into this assembly. So yeah, a lot of work to get to this stage. So we'll see if we can get the barrels honed and get them on, and then it's going to look really, really good. So I'll give you another progress shot as the progress happens. Show you more soon. Right, this is what I decided to do. You can see how much, get the light right, how much overhang there is all the way around. I'll show you what I've done there in a sec. But that's all hanging over extra that you would see when that cover was on. So I've cut that gasket up and moved everything inwards, and it fits nicely now. Much better anyway. So that's, get that right. That's pretty close. Slight misalignment here and there, but that's much better than it was. So I'm going to use that as my template to make another one. And I was just thinking while I was cutting this and adjusting it, how annoying it is, because I bought these gasket sets a long time ago, and I finally come to use it, and it's absolute garbage. So shame on those people that made this crap, and it's not cheap either. So yeah, you come to do your project, you think you've got all your parts ready. I mean, they take their time to get them to you as well, because everything, you know, I'm in Australia, so it's either coming from Japan, it's coming from the US, it's coming from the UK, it's coming from China. So these things don't arrive in a hurry. So you know, it's really disappointing. You get something that arrives and it's just rubbish. So yeah, I'll stop moaning on about how pissed I am about this and get on with it. So show you more in a minute. Okay, so after a lot of painstaking work, I've come up with this result. I'm fairly pleased with it, considering it's really thin in some places, and there's the slight misalignment of some bits, but I think it'll do the job. Right, so in case you're wondering how I did that, it was pretty much just got to reach back here. I've got a sheet of gasket paper, roughly the same thickness as what I needed. Bang. So pretty much just traced around it, and when it was still, the case was still up this way, I was putting texture or ink on there and pushing through from this side, and it was leaving like a little circle on the gasket paper. So that mapped out not only the edge but the holes, and then from there I pretty much used this on that. So I like to punch the holes out before I cut the center out, because you can imagine trying to punch a hole through that, you're just going to rip the shit out of it. So the center gives it some integrity while you're punching it, and actually I punched the holes before I even cut the outside out as well. So then I went around and just sort of tapped the edge with a ball peen hammer just to get a rough idea on where the edge was. And of course I'd already drawn the outline, so took it all off, cut the inside out, and then cut the line on the outside, and there we have it. Okay, let's move on. Okay, quick update. As you can see, I've got my side cover on. I managed to find some Allen head bolts. I've given that cover a little bit of a polish, put some black paint inside, and it's come up pretty good. Just gives it a little bit of a highlight there. So I'll just see if I can spin this around without trashing everything. I'm actually on to the other side now, which is a bit of a milestone in itself. Okay, so we have the alternator, generator, whatever it is, probably a generator back in the 70s. I've got that back on, cleaned up here with the contacts, all good. So that's where I'm up to. So it's good that I'm actually onto this side now, so we'll see how we go. I'll show you more in a minute.